Sometimes, there are moments that defy history. Findings that change what we understand, what we know. And while some of these moments can be life-changing, switching the trajectory of humankind's growth as a species on this planet, others are the opposite, a foreboding symbol of a bleak and dark future. Many people have lived through both, from world wars to Pax Romanus, from the plagues of the Middle Ages to modern medicine, from natural disasters to breathtaking phenomena. There are times we have no choice, another force out of our control that takes the reins and makes us all spectators, hoping to survive or to come out on top. Others, these events are of our own making, as our lack of understanding leads to bad decisions and sometimes forbidden knowledge. That is where one particular artifact comes into this picture. It has been on Earth for so long, no one can date it, but it also seems to be connected to some of the most corrupted groups in human history. It has a power to it, something that draws people in, gets inside their minds. Some have said that it can give a glimpse into the future. Others believe it is black magic, and others think it to be divine. Regardless of whether they believe it is from God or the devil, the purpose is for revenge or salvation, two reasons for almost every war on this planet. The first written account of this comes from Wallachia in 1455. Yes, the second rule of Vlad the Impaler. It is said that it was in the hands of the Ottoman Empire before it was suspected to be stolen. Vlad the Impaler rose to power and did horrific things, unimaginable torture, and a so-called curse was created when Vlad was beheaded. A curse that is said to have had an effect on the region for centuries, the worst of which was Karadzia's plague, a bubonic plague that happened mainly in Bucharest, which killed more than 50% of the people who contracted it. A terribly tragic event in time. The written account of the artifact that was found here said that it could take your thoughts and manifest them into any revenge you saw fit. Next, the artifact shows up in England, 1649, reportedly in the hands of Oliver Cromwell. It is here that we first learn of an account by one journal that stated that Cromwell believed God spoke to him through a blessed piece of metal. Cromwell pushed beliefs, seemed to have a strange power to manipulate others into following along, making it a crime to show joy and happiness. Next, in the United States, in the city of New York, it is said that a rich and powerful family came into possession of this item. Perhaps passed along like a family heirloom, it was written that many in this family traveled with this artifact everywhere they went, and many said that the family was cruel and almost seemed possessed with power. The artifact makes its way back to Europe in 1937, making an appearance in Berlin, Germany. It can go unsaid of what happened next. The horrors of World War II and the upheaval afterward, the terrible atrocities, and a dictator obsessed with the occult. There are reports that talk about the artifact being back in the United States in 1968, Washington, D.C., before Nixon won his first term, but nothing can be confirmed. A lot of secrets being held in shadow government agency files. Of course, the artifact is said to have disappeared in 1974, right before Nixon resigned, but that cannot be confirmed nor denied. And while these are just a few places this item is said to have been, the trail went cold. The whereabouts of this artifact are unknown, as it seemed like nothing more than a myth to explain the darkness of humanity. That is, until now.
Breaking news this hour. The city asylum is on fire. Reports of flames and thick dark smoke came in about 15 minutes ago, and firefighters and police are now on the scene. No word on the safety of the patients inside the building as of yet, but we do have confirmed reports of an unknown body. We'll continue to update you about this tragic news as we learn more.
The asylum? I better get there quick.
Welcome to the quest for the Green Bowl, the rise of Azath. What another crazy week, and this is becoming the norm. That's what makes this so much fun, with no more winless teams and just 2 undefeated teams still clinging on to the hope of perfection. Our league story is now hitting its stride for what will be a multiple-month battle until the end. Even the 1-3 teams can still put together the building blocks in the next few weeks to make a run. No one's out of it, as just one game separates the 4th through 12th place teams. And of course, our league theme story is also putting together the building blocks to get you invested into the thrilling struggle between us and the Shadows. But how did our league get to this point? Well, we start with the game of the week, where my Dark Ridge Dreamers hosted AR's Ayahuasca Plant at the icy caverns of Varangir in a Europa versus Ganymede matchup. This one was high scoring with some very good individual performances on both sides, but in the end, there was more balance for my Dreamers, which came away with a 126.88 to 102.94 win. First round pick Justin Jefferson finally came through with 150 total yards and a score. Second round pick Nick Chubb finished with an impressive 127 yards and a touchdown. Hollywood Brown also added 88 yards and a score, and Kyler Murray had a big bounce back game. 207 passing yards, 27 rushing yards, and 3 total touchdowns, though he did throw a pick. Mike Williams added 120 total yards, and player to watch, Cordarrelle Patterson reached the end zone as well, though he re-injured his knee and is now on IR for 4 weeks. Kicker Gano reached double digits again, and the Packers defense proved the smart pick over the Rams. On the other side, Miles Sanders had a monster game with 156 yards and 2 scores, and DK Metcalf, Devontae Adams, and Aaron Jones all had over 100 yards. Aaron Rodgers had 2 touchdowns, but really a lack of scores is what ended up being the difference here. AR's Ayahuasca Plant's key to the match, James Robinson, had a dreadful day as well, despite conditions actually favoring the run. Very strange indeed. And my Dreamers remain undefeated, baby! 4-0. Just 2 teams undefeated in the league. AR's Ayahuasca Plant falls to 1-3 overall after another tough loss. And of course, the Tree of Nani Award, the Rivalry Award, belongs to my Dreamers. Oh yes, loving it a lot. Moving on to the other undefeated team in the league, the multiple Scoregasms hosted the Siamese Dreamcats at the Secret Sea of Kalanis in a Ganymede versus EO division matchup. And while the Scoregasms had a big chance to win coming in with projections, this surprisingly wasn't that close, with the Scoregasms winning 106.72 to 58.56. The Scoregasms were powered by 3 players. Williams had 109 yards and 2 scores, and Pierce added 139 yards and a touchdown, including a 75-yard run to the end zone. Josh Allen had some later magic too, with 213 passing yards, 70 rushing yards, and 2 scores. Olave caught a TD as well, and the Titans defense had 3 sacks, an interception, and 2 fumble recoveries. Though first overall pick Jonathan Taylor continued a disappointing start to the season and also came out of the game with an ankle injury. On the other side, the Dreamcats had Hurricane Ian problems with a rough week, from players expected to do well in Smith and Goddard both not reaching the end zone. Jackson also had his worst week at quarterback. The only players who showed up here were Younghoe Koo and Cooper Kupp. Kupp had 122 yards, and Koo had 3 field goals. The Scoregasms remain number 1 in the league and are undefeated as well at 4-0. The Dreamcats fall to 1-3 overall. Moving on, the Elite Mother Tuckers continued an impressive start to the season with their 3rd straight win to take over first place in the EO division, hosting defending champion Remember the Titans at the volcanic plateaus of Vulcan in another EO versus Ganymede matchup. The Elite Mother Tuckers came away with the 131.26 to 73.76 beatdown. Austin Eckler finally proved he wasn't a smeghead with 3 touchdowns, and Josh Jacobs had an insane day with 175 yards and 2 scores. Hill added 159 yards. The Cowboys defense had 2 sacks and 2 interceptions. Barkley and Fournette did their jobs from Remember the Titans, with Barkley getting 162 yards and Fournette reaching the end zone. Sutton also scored, but Goff's 40-burger was left on the bench, which cost the defending champions 36-plus points here. The Elite Mother Tuckers are now 3-1 overall, doing pretty good, the league rookie. And the defending champs dropped to 1-3, though they had that same record 2 years ago when they still made the Green Bowl finish runner-up. In a Europa versus EO matchup, Uncle Justy traveled to the Lava Castle of Drusus to take on Green Acres. And Uncle Justy is winless no more after a 115.9 to 96.18 win, knocking Green Acres out of first in the EO division. Brady finished with 385 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, and Hall had 78 yards and a score. Herbert had over 100 yards, and Wilson picked up a touchdown as well. The big difference was at kicker and defense, with Joseph and the Eagles outscoring Eberle and the Vikings 32-10. Green Acres did get 124 yards and a score from Higgins, and Dobbins scored twice. Burrow finished with 2 scores as well. Green Acres falls to 2-2 after a 2-0 start, while Uncle Justy moves to 1-3 in a pretty big win here. Moving on, Risky Business hosted the Clash at Demon Head at the Sulphur Mines of Barbara in another key matchup between the EO and Europa division. And it was Risky Business getting the better of a Clash at Demon Head. 98.26 to 64.76, a huge win. There was Mahomes' magic as he collected 249 yards and 3 scores and also had 34 yards rushing. Mixon also reached the end zone, and Kelsey had a very nice day with 92 yards and a touchdown. McCaffrey scored for the Clash at Demon Head, and Ertz also reached the end zone, but there wasn't much else here for last week's Game of the Week winner. And both teams are now 2-2 overall, so that's a pretty big win. Could come back to bite. In the tiebreaker scenarios, the Clash at Demon Head is going to have to bounce back. In the last matchup of the week, the Stellar Bitches hosted Low-Key Lebowski Thor, the Temple of SeaTac. And of course, this was a Europa Ganymede matchup. Lebowski Thor didn't care about projections at all here or about being on the road. of course, getting some Monday Night Magic to win 92.4 to 84.62. Debo Samuel had 115 yards and a touchdown with a 50-plus yard score on Monday to give Lebowski Thor this win. Edwards-Helaire was big on Sunday night with 94 yards and 2 scores, and Herbert had 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tanyan also reached the end zone, but Gordon Cooper and the Bucs defense disappointed, which did keep this score low. Injuries continued to be tough for the bitches, though, with Javonte Williams hurting his knee, and that definitely hurt the chances to win here. Henry did live up to his first-round pick again, though, 147 yards and a touchdown. Dotson also scored, but hurt his hamstring, and another injury blow to the bitches. The biggest reason for this loss was the insane amount of points left on the bench. Evans and Hawkinson left 44.2 net points, not in the final score for the bitches. Lebowski Thor moves to 2-2 with a big win, while the Stellar bitches fall to 1-3. It's a big drop for a team that had a lot of high hopes coming into the season. And the Scoregasms, my Dreamers, and the Elite Mother Tuckers come away from this madness as the clear top 3 teams in the league right now. But we still have 2.5 months before the playoffs, so nothing's set in stone, of course. This week is only the beginning for us division leaders. It isn't easy to stay up there. Just ask Green Acres. And that's the content for the week, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Especially our extended intro there. Join me tomorrow when we go over the next round of out-of-division matchups and also preview the next game of the week at the Salt Mines of Thorgard. Until next time, salut, and check out the updated power rankings before you go.